I had nothing left. My daughter was dying in a hospital bed. My truck was about to be taken by the bank. And that night, I found a woman standing barefoot in the snow. I saved her life, or at least I thought I did, until she saved mine, centuries before I was even born. Have you ever helped a stranger and later realized they changed your life forever? Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Let me tell you what really happened that night. My name is Liam Carter. I'm 32, a truck driver by trade, and let's just say life hasn't been too kind lately. 3 months ago, my daughter, Emma, she's only 5, was diagnosed with a rare condition, the kind that keeps you up at night, staring at hospital bills you know you'll never be able to pay. I'd sold everything, my tools, my dad's old guitar, even the watch my grandfather gave me. And still, it wasn't enough. I was running routes day and night, sleeping in my truck, eating cold sandwiches, but none of it seemed to matter. The bank had sent me the final notice. If I missed another payment, they'd repossess my rig, the only thing keeping me afloat. That night, a snowstorm hit Colorado hard. I was making my way down a quiet stretch of highway, headlights barely cutting through the swirling white. Most sane people had already found shelter, but not me. I had miles to go, a load to deliver, and a hospital bill waiting. And then I saw her. A figure standing by the roadside. No coat, no shoes, barefoot. At first I thought I was seeing things. A woman, mid-30s maybe, with long dark hair whipping in the wind, arms hugging her sides, staring at this falling snow like she didn't know what it was. I slowed down, because no matter how bad things were for me, I couldn't leave her there. I pulled over, hazard lights blinking in the dark. She didn't move, didn't even seem afraid. I stepped out, instantly hit by the icy wind. "Ma'am?" I called. She turned her head slowly, eyes wide, not with fear, but confusion. "Are you okay? You shouldn't be out here," I said, taking a cautious step closer. She blinked, like trying to understand the words. I'm lost," she whispered. Her voice was soft, accented, but not in any way I could place. "Where's your car? Your phone?" She shook her head, hugging herself tighter. I don't have those." Her skin was pale, lips trembling from the cold. I couldn't just leave her there. "Come on, my truck's warm. You'll freeze out here." She hesitated, eyes searching mine. Then slowly, she nodded. I helped her into the cab, turned up the heat, and wrapped a spare blanket around her shoulders. She sat there quietly, looking at everything inside like she'd never seen a truck before, like she didn't belong in this world. "Name's Liam," I offered, trying to ease the tension. She turned her eyes to me, soft, deep, the kind of eyes that made you forget where you were. "I'm Isabelle," she said softly. As I drove us down the road, I tried asking questions. Where was she headed? Where was her family? But the answers never really came. "I don't know," was all she said. Something about the way she spoke. It wasn't just fear. It was like she truly didn't know. I decided to take her to my cabin, a small place I used when the roads got bad. Nothing fancy, but it had heat, a bed, and a working stove. Better than leaving her alone in the storm. When we arrived, she stepped out slowly, her bare feet touching the snow for a second before I scooped her up. She gasped, surprised, and maybe a little amused. "You didn't have to." I met her gaze, serious. "You're freezing. Let me help." She didn't resist. Inside the cabin, I lit the fireplace, made some hot tea, and gave her a pair of thick socks. She sat near the fire, eyes fixed on the flames like they were the strangest thing she'd ever seen. We sat in silence for a while. Then, she finally spoke. "You saved me." Her voice was quiet. I smiled faintly. "Not a big deal. You look like you needed it." She turned her head slowly, those deep eyes watching me with something I couldn't explain. "You don't even know me. And still, you stopped." I shrugged. Seemed like the right thing to do. She gave a soft, almost sad smile. "In my time, people wouldn't have." I frowned slightly. "Your time?" She looked back at the fire. And for a moment, I wondered if I had picked up someone with more than just memory loss. But there was something honest in her eyes. Something haunting. That night, after she fell asleep on the couch, I sat watching the flames, wondering why my heart felt different. I'd picked up hitchhikers before, helped people stranded on the road, but Isabelle wasn't like anyone I'd ever met. I couldn't shake the feeling that this woman wasn't lost. She was out of place. And somehow, so was I. The morning came cold and gray. I woke up on the armchair, blanket half fallen off my shoulders, the soft crackle of dying embers filling the quiet cabin. For a moment, I thought maybe Isabelle had been a strange dream. But then I saw her, sitting by the window, wrapped in the blanket I'd given her, barefoot on the wooden floor, staring outside at the falling snow. "You didn't sleep?" I asked gently. She turned her head, her dark hair falling over her shoulder. "I didn't want to miss the sunrise," she said softly. I smiled, even though I didn't understand. "It's just snow, pretty common around here." Isabelle shook her head, her eyes thoughtful. "Not for me." I made coffee, poured her a cup. She sniffed it, curious, like she'd never seen a coffee mug before. "You don't drink coffee?" I asked, half joking. She wrapped her hands around the mug, warming her fingers. I don't remember." I studied her face. There was no trace of a lie, just a quiet sadness, like someone caught between two worlds. "Isabelle, where are you from?" I asked carefully. She met my eyes for a long moment. Then she smiled faintly. "Have you ever felt like you were meant for a different world?" Her words caught me off guard. I wasn't sure how to answer. "I guess sometimes, yeah." She nodded slowly, looking back at the window. "That's how I feel. Like I don't belong here. Like I came from somewhere else, a long time ago." I felt a chill, and it wasn't from the cold outside. "What do you mean?" She turned to face me, her voice soft but steady. "I remember places, but they aren't on any map. I remember names of people no one speaks of now. I remember languages that don't exist anymore." I tried to make sense of it. "You mean like history books, things you studied?" She shook her head, her eyes darkening. "No, I remember living them." I stared at her, unsure if I should feel worried or fascinated. "Isabelle, are you saying you're from the past?" She held my gaze, and for the first time, I saw it. A flicker of something ancient, something untouchable. I don't know how, but yes. I should have laughed, should have brushed it off as nonsense. But I didn't, because something about her felt real. The way she spoke, the calm in her eyes. I believed her. We spent the rest of the morning talking. Or rather, I listened. Isabelle spoke of castles on the hills of Europe,
of grand halls lit by candlelight, of secrets whispered in languages I'd never heard before. She described a world of kings and queens, of betrayals and forbidden love, as if she'd been there. And the strangest part, it didn't sound like stories. It sounded like memories. "You talk like you lived through it," I said finally. She met my eyes, a soft, almost sad smile on her lips. Because I did. Hours passed, and still, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to lose this strange, impossible connection between us. So I told her my story. I told her about Emma, about the hospital bills, about the bank breathing down my neck. I told her I was losing everything. And she listened. Not with pity, but with something deeper. Like she saw me. Really saw me. At some point I realized I hadn't felt this understood in a long time. "You've carried too much," she whispered. "You've given so much and asked for nothing." I shrugged. "It's life. You do what you have to." She reached out, her hand brushing mine, soft and warm. Not everyone would. That night, as the snow kept falling outside, we sat by the fire again, two strangers from different worlds, and maybe something more. She looked at me, eyes shining softly in the firelight. "Do you believe people meet for a reason, Liam?" I swallowed hard, feeling my heart beat a little faster. "I don't know. Maybe." She smiled, a soft, secret kind of smile. "I do." As the fire burned low, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. And somewhere deep inside, a fear I couldn't explain. Because a part of me already knew. This wasn't just a strange encounter on a snowy night. This was the beginning of everything changing.
The storm outside had calmed by nightfall, but inside the cabin, something was stirring between us. We shared a simple meal. Soup heated on the stove, a few slices of bread. Nothing special. Yet somehow it felt like a feast. Isabelle sat across from me at the small wooden table, her hands wrapped around a warm mug of tea. Her eyes reflected the soft glow of the fire, and every time she looked at me, I felt it. A pull I couldn't explain. "You never asked me what I was doing out there," she said softly. I glanced up. "I figured you'd tell me when you were ready." She smiled gently, eyes thoughtful. "You're different, Liam. Most people, they want answers right away. They expect them." I gave a small shrug. "I guess I know what it feels like when you don't have any." For a long moment, we sat in silence. Then she spoke again, her voice softer than before. "I ran away." I looked at her, surprised. "From what?" She hesitated. "From everything I was supposed to be, from a life I didn't choose." I frowned slightly, unsure what she meant. "You mean like family? A marriage?" Her eyes met mine, and for the first time I saw something flicker in them, something raw. "Yes, I was meant to marry a man I didn't love, to secure alliances, wealth, power." I stared at her. "That sounds like something out of a history book." She smiled faintly. "It was." The air between us felt heavier now. Not in a bad way, in a way that felt real. She continued, her voice steady. "I was born Isabelle Duvillier, daughter of a French nobleman.
Um, in the year 1821. I froze. I wanted to believe I'd misheard. That's not possible. She gave me a soft, almost apologetic look. I know, but it's true. She spoke of her life, a world of ballrooms, arranged marriages, whispered secrets in candlelit halls, a world of duty, but no freedom. I wanted to escape, she said quietly. So I ran into the woods, into a storm, and then I woke up in your world. I didn't know what to say. I mean, how do you answer something like that? I searched her face for any sign of a joke, but there was none. Isabelle was serious, and deep down, I believed her. The fire cracked softly as the wind hummed outside. "You're not afraid of me?" she asked after a while. I shook my head. "No." She tilted her head slightly. "Why?" I met her eyes. "Because I know what it's like to feel out of place, to feel like you don't belong anywhere." Her lips parted slightly, a soft breath escaping. And then something shifted between us. Slowly, cautiously, she reached out her hand. I met it halfway. Our fingers touched, light, gentle. It should have felt strange, but it didn't. It felt right. "You don't have to run anymore," I whispered. She smiled softly. "And you don't have to carry everything alone." That night, something happened I didn't expect. We talked for hours about life, about loss, about feeling invisible and finding hope again. We laughed, real laughter, the kind I hadn't heard from myself in years. We shared stories, dreams, fears. And at some point, we fell asleep, side by the fire. I woke up once in the middle of the night. She was sleeping peacefully, her head resting on my shoulder. And in that quiet, impossible moment, I realized something. I didn't want this night to end. But deep down, I knew it would. When morning came, I woke to the soft glow of dawn spilling into the cabin. Isabelle wasn't beside me. For a brief panicked moment, I thought she'd vanished. But then I saw her, standing outside, in the snow. I rushed out, barefoot, the cold biting at my skin. "Isabelle!" She turned around slowly, a strange calm on her face. "I didn't want to wake you," she said softly. I walked closer, heart racing. "What are you doing out here?" She looked at me with those eyes that somehow held centuries inside them. I needed to see if this was real. I reached for her hand. "It is." She smiled. But it was different this time. Not just soft, but almost sad. "I think this was meant to happen," she whispered. I didn't know what she meant, but I'd soon find out. And nothing would ever be the same again.
I don't remember falling asleep. One moment, I was sitting by the fire with Isabelle, her head resting lightly against my shoulder. The next, everything faded into black. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in the cabin anymore. I woke up on a soft bed, but not my old mattress back in the cabin. This one was massive, draped in velvet sheets, framed by wooden posts carved with intricate designs. Above me, a chandelier hung from a high ceiling, glittering faintly in the morning sun. I sat up fast, heart pounding. What the? The room around me was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Stone walls covered in tapestries, a fireplace bigger than my entire kitchen back home, tall windows with thick velvet curtains drawn halfway open. Outside, I caught a glimpse of rolling hills and the distant outline of a castle wall. I threw off the covers and stood, noticing immediately I wasn't wearing my clothes. Instead, a crisp white shirt, dark trousers, polished boots that looked handmade. "What is this?" I whispered. The door creaked softly. I turned fast, ready for anything. And there she stood, Isabelle. But not the woman I'd met on a snowy road. This Isabelle wore a flowing gown of deep blue silk embroidered with gold, her hair pinned up in elegant waves, jewels at her throat catching the morning light. She smiled softly, as if this was perfectly normal. "Good morning, Liam." I stared at her, speechless. Where am I? She stepped into the room, her voice calm. "My home." I shook my head, trying to process. "No, this can't be." Isabelle walked closer, stopping just in front of me. "It's 1850, she said softly. "And you're safe." My heart thudded so hard I thought I'd pass out. "Is this a joke?" She shook her head gently. "It's not." I ran a hand through my hair, pacing the room. "This is insane. I was in my cabin, with you. How—" She watched me with eyes full of something I couldn't name. "I brought you here," she said. I froze. "You— what?" Isabelle took a slow breath. "You saved me, and now I saved you." I stared at her, every part of me fighting to make sense of this. "You brought me back in time?" She nodded. "Yes." I shook my head, heart racing. "But why?" She looked down briefly, then met my eyes again. "Because you gave me a chance. You helped me when no one else would, and I wanted to give you a life free from everything that hurt you." I swallowed hard, my voice hoarse. "But my daughter, my life, I can't just—" Isabelle placed a gentle hand on my arm. "You won't lose them. I swear I will find a way for you to return." Her words hit me like a wave. This wasn't a mistake. This was a gift, but a gift I didn't ask for. I looked around, at the grand room, the impossible world I'd landed in, at Isabelle, this woman I barely knew who'd somehow changed my entire life overnight. "I don't understand," I whispered. Isabelle's eyes softened. "Neither do I, not completely. But I know this. We were meant to meet, and now we have a chance neither of us expected." The door opened again, and a man in fine clothes stepped in, bowing his head slightly. "My lady, breakfast is served." Isabelle gave him a soft nod. "Thank you, Pierre." She turned back to me. "Come, let me show you my world." I followed her down the grand staircase, through long corridors lined with portraits of people who could have been ghosts. Servants bowed as we passed. Guards nodded respectfully. It was like stepping into a dream or a storybook. At breakfast, we sat in a grand hall beneath tall stained glass windows. Food I couldn't even name was placed before us. Fresh fruits, pastries, hot tea poured into delicate china. Isabelle spoke softly about the estate, the people who lived and worked there, the world outside these walls. I listened, but my mind kept spinning. Finally, when we were alone again, I asked her the question burning in my chest. "Why me?" Isabelle looked at me for a long moment, her eyes reflecting something deep and
maybe a little sad, because I didn't want to be alone anymore. And when I met you, for the first time, I didn't feel lost. I swallowed hard, the weight of her words settling on my heart. You could have had anyone. Why bring me? She reached out, gently taking my hand. Because you didn't look at me like I was broken. You saw me, and you cared. The truth hit me like a quiet storm. I hadn't just saved her that night. She'd saved me, too. That evening, standing on the castle balcony, looking out at the sunset, I realized something terrifying. A part of me didn't want to leave. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't where I belonged. And somehow, that was going to break both our hearts.
Days passed, or maybe weeks. I lost track of time inside Isabelle's world, a world that didn't seem real but felt more real than anything I'd ever known. We walked gardens older than my country. We dined under candlelit ceilings, our words soft, our glances softer. We laughed. We shared stories. We even danced once, under a sky full of stars, her hand resting gently in mine. And through it all, I kept waiting for the moment I'd wake up, but it never came. The truth settled in slowly like snow covering the ground, inch by inch. I was in another time, and I didn't know how to get back. One night, after a long walk through the castle grounds, I finally asked her the question I'd been afraid of. Isabelle, is this forever? She stopped walking, turned to me, and for a long moment she said nothing. Then she whispered, I don't know. I searched her face, hoping for something, a promise, a plan, anything. But you said I'd be able to go back. She nodded slowly. I want that. I'm trying. I felt my heart tighten. My daughter. Isabelle, I have a little girl waiting for me. She's sick. I can't lose her. Her eyes glistened softly. I know, and I swear I would never keep you from her. Her hand reached for mine, warm, trembling. There's a place, she whispered, an order of people. They study time. They protect the secrets of those who cross it. I blinked, confused. Like a group? A society? She nodded. They're known only to a few, and they may know how to send you back. For the first time in days, I felt hope. When can we find them? She gave a faint, almost sad smile. Tomorrow. That night, I barely slept. I stared at the ceiling of my lavish room, thinking about Emma, about the life I'd left behind, about the woman sleeping in the chamber next to mine, the woman I wasn't sure I wanted to leave. By morning, we set out together. The carriage rolled through winding country roads, past villages I'd only read about in history books. Isabelle sat beside me, hands folded, eyes distant. We neither of us spoke much. Somehow, we both knew this trip might change everything. We arrived at a quiet estate hidden beyond a stone bridge, surrounded by towering oaks. Inside, we met them, the order. Men and women dressed in simple robes, their eyes sharp with knowledge, people who seemed to see right through me. They spoke in hushed voices, words I barely understood. But Isabelle, she spoke their language. She explained everything, how she'd crossed time, how she brought me with her, how we needed a way back. After hours of discussion, the leader, an older man with eyes like frost, finally spoke in a tongue I understood. There is a way. I leaned forward, heart racing. What is it?
The man glanced between me and Isabelle. "One may return, but only if the other stays." The words hit like a punch to the chest. "One of us has to stay?" I asked slowly. He nodded once. "The bond between you, it's tied to the fracture in time. To send him back, you must remain in your own era." He looked at Isabelle. "You must stay." I turned to her, panic rising. "No, there has to be another way." She reached for my hand, her grip firm but gentle. "It's the only way," she whispered. I shook my head, my heart breaking. "I can't leave you." She gave me a soft, bittersweet smile. "And I can't take you away from your daughter." We stood there, locked in a moment neither of us wanted to end. The leader spoke again, his voice like stone. "The choice must be made, tonight, or the bond will be too strong to break." That evening, we returned to the castle. The sun dipped below the hills as we stood on the balcony. Isabelle leaned into me, resting her head on my chest. "I never expected this," she whispered. "Neither did I said softly. We stayed there, holding on to a moment we knew would soon disappear. "I love you," I whispered into her hair. She looked up at me, eyes shining. "And I love you." We didn't speak after that. We didn't need to, because we both knew tomorrow we'd have to say goodbye. The morning sun rose quietly over the hills, but in my chest a storm was breaking. I stood at the edge of the castle gardens, looking at the carriage waiting for me. The order's emissary stood nearby, silent, patient. Today was the day I would leave this world and leave her behind. Isabelle walked toward me, her dress flowing softly in the breeze. She looked peaceful, but her eyes betrayed her heart. I reached for her hands. "I don't want this to be goodbye," I whispered. She gave a soft, sad smile. "Maybe it isn't." We stood there in silence for a long moment, holding on to every second. Then she leaned forward. Her lips met mine in a kiss that said everything words never could. Warm, tender, final. When we parted, she pressed something into my hand, a small, sealed envelope. Old, delicate, my name written on it in her elegant handwriting. "For when you return," she whispered. I swallowed hard, fighting every instinct to stay. "I love you," I said. "I love you too," she replied softly. "Now go." I climbed into the carriage, heart heavy, watching her grow smaller with every turn of the road. I didn't look back. If I had, I might not have had the strength to leave. The ritual was simple, a circle of symbols, a quiet chant from the order's leader. And then, everything faded. I woke up with a sharp gasp, back in my cabin. Same fire, same blanket, same night. It was as if no time had passed at all. I sat up fast, heart racing. Was it a dream? Had I imagined it all? I looked at my hand. The envelope was still there. My phone buzzed on the table, a message from the hospital. Emma's condition had stabilized. The doctor said it was a miracle. I didn't know what to believe. All I knew was that I had to move forward. Days turned into weeks. I went back to work, paid off my truck, and then, one afternoon, a letter arrived from a law firm I'd never heard of. inviting me to a meeting regarding a trust fund in my name. I almost didn't go. It felt impossible. But curiosity won. When I walked into the office, a woman stood by the window, her back to me. At first, I thought maybe I'd been sent to the wrong room. Then she turned around, and my heart stopped. It was Isabelle, dressed in a sharp, modern suit, her hair tied back, that same soft smile. "Hello, Liam," she said gently. I couldn't speak. I just stared. She walked toward me, calm and steady. "I promised you I'd find a way," she whispered. My voice broke. "How?" She smiled softly. "I found a way." We stood there, facing each other, two people from different worlds brought back together against every odd. And I realized this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Today, we run the trust fund together. We help families in need, parents struggling to keep their kids safe, truckers trying to hold on to their dreams. We built something bigger than both of us. And through it all, we never forgot where we came from, or how love sometimes bends even time.
Sometimes, the people you save are the ones who save you back. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and join our community of real stories and inspiring moments. Have you ever had someone change your life in an unexpected way? Share it in the comments. We'd love to hear your story.